couple years in the trophy truck class when I first started, and we would always tape. Well, he taught me always tape a water bottle of tequila to the roll bar behind the seat, as well as a box of matches. And well, what are these for? You'll see. And one time we broke down in the canyon outside of Coco's Corner, middle of the night. We knew we were going to be there all night waiting for the trucks to come in. We broke the transmission. He says, well, get those matches out and let's get some firewood and light a fire. It's going to get cold. And grab that bottle of tequila, and we're going to stay warm tonight. So I learned real fast early in my racing career that those were two things you always had to have on the vehicle, a little tequila and some matches.
Yeah. So in racing the La Carrera in mainland Mexico, again, we showed up 100 cars from around the world. Your starting line's in Chiapas, so it's a haul for pretty much anybody.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody's usually hanging out in Chiapas waiting for a race to start.
No.
So you get down there, and I've towed however many thousands of miles to get there, and I said to my partner, if we ever get this figured out, we're going to race the Baja 1000, and we're going to do it in one of those Volkswagen bugs that takes you 24 hours to complete the course. We're going to do it. If we ever get this La Carrera thing down, we're going to do that thing so that we're even more ignorant, more bewildered, more scared. And of course, managed. We were the least amount of experience, least amount of horsepower. We finished dead last. We beat 19 cars that blew up or crashed. We were the last guys across the finish line. We had the time of our lives, and we started talking about, okay, let's figure out that Baja thing.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not long after that. That's when Nora was announced that they were going to do this different, vintage, kinder, gentler, more old-fashioned take on the 1000. And I said, perfect. We're doing that.
Yeah.
And I had a Datsun Roadster, which is a little two-seat, looks like a Japanese copy of an MG, already roll caged, the whole thing. And I thought, is there any way I can convert this to an off-road racer? So I, through the magic of now the internet, I found out, managed to get Pete Brock's phone number, and I called up and talked to his wife and told her what I was up to, and she put me through to Pete Brock, the legend of Datsun racing, and he was kind enough to take my call and tell me under no circumstances ever could a Datsun Roadster ever make it through, and told me all about what they went through with the Datsun 510s and the mini trucks, and that they had a plane flying over them, and they were shooting their struts right through the front fenders, and when the struts would fail, they would land the plane and fix the struts, which was great until nighttime and the plane couldn't fly. And
right.
That's how Datsun's first Baja trip ended. But it planted the seed, and it's funny now to be sitting here with you, having you've obviously competed so many Baja races and done the Noras, and that was the second email to you. Are you doing the Nora 500?
Yeah.
And your comment back to me is the one that's burning in right now. If you ever have a chance to do anything in Nora, move mountains to make it happen.
Yeah. Yeah. By the way, if I would have had that call, that would have been a license for me to go try in that car. What do you mean I can't?
Yeah, well, it's the lack of funds and the lack of experience. Ignorance is bliss sometimes,
yeah.
But I do have limits.
Yeah, sure. Well, I still stand by that statement to you in the email. I've had such an incredible time racing the Nora races. Like you made the decision to get rid of your race car. I did the same thing this last year because I've got two little ones that have been knocking on our door here. Because time and money and time away from the family was becoming too much. I was doing 12 to 15 races a year in my two vehicles. And,
wow.
Spending a lot of money doing it. So we're taking a little time off. But that being said, I did 6 years of Nora racing. We won the race 3 times in that 57 Chevy. I drove the 71 Nova once and won in that, and just have had an incredible time. I think Nora does a fantastic job of putting on an event. And I made it to the second one. I didn't make it to the first one they did, but Rick Johnson, my buddy, did. And he called me afterwards. We were racing together at the time. He says, Jim, no matter what you do, go race the Nora race. So I'm giving you the same advice he gave me. And, of course, 6 races later, we had a lot of great times. So, for you and anybody listening, if you can go do the Nora race. And they've really made it friendly the last year because they've got a lot of interest from people that just have street vehicles and are something slightly modified, some type of street 4-wheel drive without big suspensions or what have you. And they've made an option for you to run the course and enjoy the same scenery that the racers get to enjoy earlier in the day. So,
right. So you're touching on it. You're not using the name, but it's the Savvy Safari class. So out of a wild happenstance, while I was racing the Baja XL, or non-racing the Baja XL, while I was driving 20 miles an hour through the back roads of Baja in January, I happened to come across, I believe his name is Eliseo, who's with Nora.
Eliseo, yeah.
Eliseo, excuse me. And he was in his 97 Lexus FJ, LX450 FJ80 Land Cruiser. And he was actually mapping a section of the course. And
yeah.
He blew by us. We're in this old school Land Cruiser. And he blew by me, and everybody in his truck looked at us and said, "Look at those clowns." And I looked at his truck and I said, "Oh man, look at that Land Cruiser. It's just sucking up the bumps and the whoops." And I mean, he was a speck on the horizon in no time.
Yeah.
But he drove out to the highway and then turned around and was heading back. And when he caught us on the way back, that's when we had to stop. And, he had to check out my truck. I had to check out his truck. He gave me stickers. I gave him stickers. That's how you do it in those days. And so we've been in touch. So he invited me to participate in that first Savvy Safari class in my old truck. And unfortunately, my Mexico adventure buddy, Ted, couldn't do it. He's got younger kids now, and it was just too much to come right off of the Baja XL and then turn around and go right back for that one.
Yeah.
But they've got another one coming up in October, and so
good.
It's under consideration.
Good. Well, I hope you can make it down there. What's next for Slow Baja? I've looked at your Instagram. You got some incredible photos. Actually, there's a few photos in there of some friends of mine that you ran across down in Mexico, so that's kind of fun. But, what are your plans? And, outside of the NORA racing? Yeah, so Slow Baja for me is a coverall term for the enjoying Baja on the slow. So for me, it's we before we started recording, we were talking about our love of tacos. It's eating, it's drinking, it's slowing down, it's enjoying the recreation of Baja. So for me, it's a way to get to Baja. It's an excuse to get to Baja as often as possible. My daughter's now at San Diego State, and she was just down at Cuatro Casas with drinking wine with her sorority sisters and sending me pictures. And I'm appreciate you saying nice things about my Instagram, my Slow Baja Instagram, because my daughter beats me up all the time about, like, "Dad, your Instagram's so lame. I need to take over your Instagram." I'm like, "Yes, you should take over my Instagram because you've got a lot more followers than I do, and so do all your friends." Because but yeah, so it's I am a dreamer and a schemer, and always trying to figure out ways to get back to Baja, to fish back to Baja. You said that Ryan's in San Juanico. I have a friend who's building a house and doing a development there right now that I've never been to San Juanico. I was there I drove by there in the middle of the night on that epic drive, so I didn't get a chance to. I drove close to there. I didn't drive through, but I'd like to go, and I'd like to reconnect to surfing. I longboarded a lot when I was in college, and then moving to San Francisco, I kind of gave that up, and I picked it up a couple years ago, but surfing is something you have to do. You have to do it all the time. So been itching to get reconnected to the water, and I'd really like to find some nice longboardable waves and make some time to do that. And so Slow Baja, it's gonna lead me back, and maybe there's some opportunities there business-wise. I have some meetings about that tomorrow with Ted Donovan again, who's my adventure partner in all things Mexico. He's way back in the early days of the internet, founded Mex Online with another friend of ours who's since passed, and so we'll see. Yeah. Describe to me, because it's hard to describe, maybe you do a better job than I did. When you cross that border, you're hitting Highway 1 south, something comes over your body where you're just like, I'm here. And it happens to everybody I take. It's 15 minutes south, and all of a sudden you look over and you can just tell they're in a different mindset.
Yeah, it's interesting because in the old days, heading down the Baja Peninsula, we tried to get through Tijuana as quickly as possible. What's very interesting to me now is what's going on in Tijuana is drawing me to Tijuana specifically for eating, drinking, all sorts of things. But the feeling for us, every trip starts with tacos. So if we're crossing in Tecate, we're off to La Huerita. If we're crossing, in Tijuana, we're heading straight to Rosarito, and we're at El Yaqui, and we're talking to the owner, and we're having those, I think they call them perrones. It's a big, fat taco with beans and guacamole. Very different than sort of the regular street tacos that you get in other places. A big, monster, honking thing. And that says to me, like, okay, the trip has started.
Yeah.
And, of course, you're stopping at a depository and picking up a case of beer and putting it on ice and all that. So that's putting my mind in the mindset of heading down the road, got the ocean on the right, and heading south, and looking forward to good times.
Yeah.
And the flip side of that, in my old 1980s trips to San Felipe, when you'd get back to Calexico and you'd cross the border and you'd say, whew, I got back with just scratches, no stitches, nothing happened, so that there's two mindsets there.
But, that's an interesting thing to say because, I still feel the same when I cross the border as I did in the 80s and 90s in terms of I'm on an adventure, my world is I'm leaving it behind in the U.S. and here I am in Mexico now on that adventure to get my tacos and my beers and whether I'm surfing, going to the winery tours and what have you, or even on a race. But I could have been in the most extravagant and best of times in the Valle de Guadalupe, hashing it up with these winery owners. But when I cross the border back, it's like, whew, I came back without a scratch. And I don't know what that is because, it's the safest place to me. It's often safer down there than it is here in my own neighborhood. But I do feel a little bit of relief, like, okay, I got back from that adventure. And I like the fact that it's an adventure that I feel that way because I think I crave that.
Yeah, so I as I mentioned, I've got 3 kids in college. And kids today, I mean, when you and I were young, getting that first bike, that was our, that we could go places on our bike. And then you're itching, or at least I was itching to get a car. So, I'm 15, I'm doing all these odd jobs, I'm buying my first car, $1,200. As soon as my parents weren't looking, I was driving it, got my license, and the day I got my license, the day I turned 16, I was off, racing back roads and doing stuff. Well, today, people's phones take them everywhere they want to go.
Yeah.
And I live in San Francisco, right in Russian Hill, and not far from Tech Center and Financial District, and everybody I see is looking at their phone.
Yeah.
And part of Slow Baja, part of doing the Baja XL with a paper map was I just didn't want to be looking at my phone. I wanted to, Baja to me, you see plenty of people on their phones, sadly, or looking at their phones, but I remember clearly my first trip into San Ignacio and seeing the mission there and just saying hello to everybody in town, getting that first ice cream, walking through town, hello, hola, ¿cómo estás? And saying hello, eyes up. You're looking at people, you're acknowledging people. And as our life has gone to looking at our hand with this device in it, I just think we're missing something. So for me, I don't want to drive with GPS in Mexico. I don't want to hear turn left, this, that. Mm-hmm. I just, I'm bringing myself back to a mental place that's simpler in my mind, kinder, gentler, slower. And I have fond, it's like a filter in my mind when I drive across the border. I'm going back to another place where I have very fond memories, and that's what I'm trying to achieve. And it's good food, good people, and good weather, and fun.
Yeah, and I think that brings up a great point. Enjoying, looking around, staying off your phone, and asking for directions.
You have to.
I've made some of the most wonderful friends down there asking for directions or asking for help. We've got a friend down outside of La Paz. He helped us do a motor swap throughout the night and the next day, and the whole town came out to help us and watch. And we shared tacos and fresh oysters and clams and beer and the whole bit. And I make it a point to stop in there every time. But, if we didn't ask for help or look for it and kind of get off the grid a little bit, we would have never made those friends or had that experience. And I think that's the great part about Baja is that you can do that. People are willing to help. They are willing to show you around or point you in the next direction or where that great taco stand is and the like. And I think we could all learn from that to slow down a little bit.
Yeah, everybody wants to take the road less traveled. in Baja, take the road that has the tire tracks on it.
Yeah.
If you're out in the dirt, take the one that has the tire tracks, and then stop and ask for directions.
Yeah.
And again, on that epic 16-hour drive, had there been anybody to get out and ask, we would have asked.